Jesus Reigns TV. Colonizing, dominating, and impacting nations with the gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ. A men anointed by God for such a time as this, proclaiming the decrees of heaven and announcing the seasons of God among man. A men aligned with the calendar of heaven. A prophet with an attitude of a servant, a father with a heart of son, a voice of prophecy in this generation.
Now the God of heavens, the God of all spirits, have spoken to me once again. Now this time around, in the early hours of this morning, as I was taken to visions and into a spiritual visitation. This time around, I found myself in Beijing, in China. Now, as I visited this time in China, I was given the opportunity to speak to the chairman, Xi Jinping, the president of the People's Republic of China. Now, in what looks like an office that is just across this street, and opposite this office seems to be a sort of a temple. Now, I was given the opportunity to be with the president of China in this office as we looked at some document together that the Father of Spirits, the God of heavens, have allowed that I be there.
Good to be with you. I'm Francis Rivera. We are following live coverage of President Trump's historic two-day summit in China. President Trump and Chinese President Xi arriving at the Temple of Heaven in Beijing. There you see a live look there at the president addressing reporters. This follows their high-stakes meeting at the Great Hall of People. We heard from both leaders before they went behind closed doors for just over 2 hours.
But as I spoke to the President Jinping, as I speak to him, he then said to me, as we talk, he said, but the only problem, we want to open, but this temple. He said, this temple. So he pointed at a temple that is opposite the building. It's like the government building this side, then just in front of the road, there is a temple that is there. He said, it's just because of this temple. So he pointed at the temple as if like the temple was a hindrance to what was supposed to happen. But he said, nevertheless, we will still open. So I left the conversation as we got outside and they were showing me the temple. And he said, these are the last words. I cannot reveal everything. I will tell you what you need. But he said to me, we will open. So the Lord said to me, China is going to be saved.
As the president makes his way to the stairs of the Temple of Heaven, I want to bring in NBC News Chief White House Correspondent Garrett Haake, who is in Beijing.
Of course, we've got this live picture of the Temple of Heaven. It is of great significance here for the Chinese people. It was sort of a late add to this tour that he's on in Beijing. This is a site of great significance. It's a temple that was built in the 1400s, Jonathan. It was used by emperors who would go there and pray for prosperity for their people, for their empire. And the only other president to have visited this temple was Gerald Ford back in 1975. It is massive in size. We actually drove past it when we first arrived here in Beijing. It's about 4 times the size of the Forbidden City.
But as I spoke to the President Jinping, as I speak to him, he then said to me, as we talk, he said, but the only problem, we want to open, but this temple. He said, this temple. So he pointed at a temple that is opposite the building. It's like the government building this side, then just in front of the road, there is a temple that is there.
Then the Forbidden City, you're seeing those images on the screen of what the inside of the temple looks like. I don't believe we're going to get images of President Xi Jinping and President Trump inside of that temple, even though we got them standing at the stairs going up into the Temple of Heaven. You can see those beautiful reds and blues and greens, teals inside of the Temple of Heaven. This area is a very sacred area, and I think that in the way that the Forbidden City kind of represents a lot of kind of the history of China from a state standpoint, this is a little bit more of a spiritual place. This is where the emperors during the Ming and Qing dynasties used to make sacrifices in this complex as a way to kind of liaise between the earthly side of reality and the heavens, and kind of liaising with the gods. There's a circular mound altar which is on a different complex at the Temple of Heaven, where it's a big open space. There's not an actual structure on top, but it kind of represents these areas where the emperors would make these sacrifices. And I think that the metaphors cannot be lost, that as these two massive giants in the political landscape of global politics are meeting, that sacrifices will have to be made, especially on the trade front.
Now, family, as we spoke on what I can call a very nice conversation, civil conversation with the president of China, Xi, the Lord brought to my knowledge that I was there for a purpose, because in our conversation with the president of China, I found a different person than what obviously many of you know about China and what's happening.
President Trump addressing President Xi at the top of that meeting, saying he's a great leader and that the arrival ceremony was, quote, an honor like few I've ever seen before. President Trump adding he looks forward to a big discussion on trade and business, and says the U.S.'s relationship with China will be better than ever. Also, Chinese state media reporting that Taiwan is the most important issue to China, with Xi warning Trump that if Taiwan is not handled well, U.S.-China relations will be pushed to a dangerous place, in his words.
But in this vision, as the Lord gave me this opportunity around 4 a.m. to 3 a.m. in the morning, I had to speak to the president of China. And as we were talking about the economy, and it's almost like he spoke to me about the idea that China has to be opened. The economy of China has to be opened to the world. So I spoke to him and we spoke, and now he was showing me documents. So as I was looking at these documents, big files, a lot of files, the Lord brought it to my knowledge that a time for China to be opened had come.
Trade was the most important issue he wanted to discuss. He said that would be the first thing he brought up with President Xi. He wants to see China's markets opened, something Western leaders have wanted for more than 200 years, Francis.
Not only to be opened for the nations of the world economically, but for the gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ to be preached in China had come.
The great hall, and with a thumbs up from, I believe that was Tim Cook, Apple CEO, Elon Musk saying, it went great, things went well so far. So, there's also this goal here of opening up China when it comes to American businesses.
But we're also getting a readout from the Chinese state media, Xinhua, which, again, is usually kind of the mouthpiece of what's going on inside there in lieu of any official communications from, let's say, the Ministry of Foreign Relations of China itself. And they said that President Xi Jinping did meet with American business leaders at some point. We didn't necessarily see those images directly. But according to Xinhua, Xi Jinping told these American companies that China's door to opening up will only open wider. That according to the translation that we saw of what Xinhua had posted online in Chinese. Moreover, apparently Xi Jinping told these American companies that they will, quote, have broader prospects in China. So that does point to some willingness, at least some warm reception from the Chinese.
Now, the Lord said to me as I speak, he said that there is hope for the people of China, and the way has been made. There is hope for the people of China, and the way has been made, meaning the Lord has made a way.
Also, with President Trump in Beijing, over a dozen American CEOs, including the heads of Tesla, Nvidia, and Apple, as he looks to get China to open up to American businesses.
God's servant Yamkela Joseph has been released by God in the year of 2020 to publicly prophesy and speak to the nations of the world. Since then we have seen many prophetic fulfillment and events foretold before they happen in a very accurate and powerful way.
If this generation is to believe, they should know that Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever.
Join the prophetic winter camp with God's servant Yamkela Joseph. 4 days of prayer, word, encouragement, and refreshing. A time away from everything while learning at the feet of God's servant. This coming July from the 9th to 13th in the heart of the serene nature of Hartbeesport. Register right now and get an early bird package. Email info@jesusreigntv.com or WhatsApp +277 316 340 72 or click the link below.